Justin Menger, and I am the director for GeoConvention. With me today is Stephanie Barkley. Stephanie has helped with putting on the GeoConvention program for many, many years, and we're certainly happy to have her back. So just a few quick notes on kind of using the system here. You guys have navigated this far, which is fantastic. I can fully appreciate that it is a bit of a learning curve to try a new system, so I appreciate you taking the time to get here. Um, Within this space, if you do need to move around or something and somebody is in your way, you can press the G button on your keyboard to walk through that person. So like if there's trying to get out of the room or something and somebody's in your way, you can press G to walk through them. What I'm going to do is just go through a few of the presenter highlights, some things that I think will be useful to you as you present with us at GeoConvention. And then we'll open it up for questions. With the questions, you can either use the chat, that's kind of the chat bubbles that are on the lower left-hand part of your screen, or you can go to the Ask Questions Here podium. And that will then broadcast your sound and your audio to the full room so that everyone hears your question. So either one works, and we'll go ahead and open it up for questions after I've kind of concluded just my really brief overview of the system and how to best engage with all the different components. Additionally, if you do want to make your screen a bit bigger, you can minimize that sidebar that has the listing of all the listing of all the attendees. You can minimize that to kind of make your screen a little bit bigger. If you click on somebody's video or if you click on the screen share that I'm going to do, that will also make that bigger for you. So just a few quick notes on GeoGather. So the main purpose of GeoGather is truly for that kind of casual interaction. So kind of the randomness of going into a convention center in person and running into people that you haven't seen in a while. So this piece, this networking piece, will be additional to the conference platform that we'll also be hosting. So they'll both kind of run concurrently, and I'll describe here in a bit how they'll both work hand in hand. So I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my screen. And now everyone should hopefully be able to see my first slide that I have here. There's only 2 slides, so it'll mostly be demo, but I did want to just highlight kind of the different parts that we'll be looking after. So for presenters here today, it is largely system highlights. I want to ensure that you are comfortable with using the platform, that you have familiarity with what's going on, so that you have the best experience possible. You guys have put in a ton of work in preparing not only the abstracts, but then to record yourselves delivering the talk. And I must say the quality of the talks this year is phenomenal. You guys have done an amazing job putting together your content. Last year it was kind of the first year of doing a virtual conference, and I think people were getting used to it. You guys certainly know what you're doing now, and it shows. So thank you very much for all the work that you've put in preparing. So we'll go through the system. We'll talk about the scheduling and how that works. I think that tripped a few people up last year. We'll talk about the use of the chat within the conference platform. We'll then touch on the GeoGather piece, so how we get the 2 pieces going kind of simultaneously, the engagement, and then kind of our next steps as we kind of round the corner here with only, I guess we're less than a week and a half away now from the conference, so we're getting close now. So what I'm going to do first is simply bring up, we'll start with the speaker profile. Most of you have done this. Most of you have provided a bio, have provided a headshot, have provided your links, to LinkedIn. This is really your opportunity to promote yourself. So if you haven't input your bio and headshot just yet, I encourage you to do so. If you need the link to your speaker portal, shoot me a quick note at Dustin@GeoConvention or the abstracts at GeoConvention. That one comes to me as well, and I can send you the link to your portal. So Mark here, I'm going to pick on Mark because I know that he just updated his profile. He has the full bio, he has the organization that he's with, the title, the whole 9 yards. So Mark is complete in really promoting himself as a speaker at the event. So again, this is useful for attendees to have some background on who is speaking. It's helpful for our session chairs. Some of our session chairs will end up doing introductions before, just typing in the introduction for the different speakers. So that this piece is helpful for them as well. So again, if you haven't done it, I encourage you to input your bio and headshot there in your speaker profile. What I'm going to do is transition now over into the virtual platform. So those of you who were with us last year, this will be very familiar to you. For those that are new, I hope that it's a pretty seamless experience and pretty straightforward. So where we're at right now is the lobby. So this is kind of the main landing page right after you join the virtual conference. In the lobby, you'll see kind of our social wall, which just pulls things that are happening on social media. If you're tagging, hashtag GeoCon 2021, or if you're mentioning at GeoConvention Partnership, those tweets and those Instagram posts will all be posted here on the lobby. We just have kind of a rolling video that will play here. This will change every day, and then just some announcements down below. What's really important in this space is over here to the right, we have the chat. This chat is specific to this area, so you can type in, whatever you want. Welcome to the conference. Looking forward to whatever you want to type. That will be visible to everybody who is in the lobby area. So every time a person goes back to the lobby area, that comment will still be there. So I mentioned the chat specifically because every space within the platform has its own chat area. But the chat area within each space is specific to just that space. So for instance, if we're having a chat about a presentation, that chat is specific only to the presentation area. So let's go ahead and navigate over into a presentation area, specifically the posters area. So here we are in our posters area. We have, I think we're hosting about 64 posters this year. So another really strong showing from our posters. Just a quick look at what you see on screen. The full list of posters is over here to the left. The poster information itself, as well as the presentation, is here in the middle. If you scroll down, you can see the speaker information, as well as the short description and abstract that was provided for this particular talk. Further to the right is the chat. So again, this is what I was talking about. Any chat that you put in here will be specific to this poster. It won't be shared for any other posters. It won't be shared in the lobby. It's just for this particular area. So this here, as a presenter, is where you will come to see if you have any questions. If you have anybody who has asked something that they want to follow up on, you can find it here in this chat. So I'll just type in a quick question. So what you can do after somebody has asked their question, if you'd like to follow up, you can do so either through the chat. You can type your answer if you want. Or if you want to follow up one-on-one, you can simply click their name and then send them a private message. That private message will then go directly to them to follow up, and it will show up in their private chats. This private chats area is kind of like an MSN Messenger or something. Every time you get a private chat from somebody, it will populate here, and you can respond just in this window. Last year, for those who joined us last year, may recall that you had to navigate over to the networking area to respond to chats. That is no longer the case. This private chats sticks with you no matter where you are in the platform. So you can kind of carry on with conversations no matter, if you're watching a presentation, if you're watching a poster, or if you're hanging out at the lobby. What I'm going to do now is simply go over to our sessions area. So the sessions will display very, very similarly to the posters. The big difference being that when you see the full list, these are the kind of parent sessions, if you will. So our individual presentations are not listed over here on the left-hand side. It's more just the parent sessions. Those parent sessions are kind of containers for all the talks that are within them. So right now we're in the Best of SEG session. We have the timing of the session. So this one's Monday, September 13th at 8:35 in the morning, Mountain Daylight Time. We see the rooms. This room designation will be important when we talk about how we integrate the GeoGather side. So we'll remember that this particular room is room 9. Each session will have a unique room. Just a quick rolling video to try to direct some traffic to make sure that people know how to access the talks just by clicking the presentation below. And then the presentations themselves are listed down here. So again, we're kind of in that the session container, and now we're clicking down into a particular presentation. So much like the posters, we have kind of similar information. This is a oral presentation name, the presentation itself, information about the speaker, as well as their description of the talk and the abstract. The chat still is over here, over to the right-hand side. Again, now this chat is specific to this particular talk. It's important to note when we look at the timing of the talks that everything will start when it's scheduled to start. So this talk will start at 8:35 a.m. Mountain Time, and everything will happen sequentially. So the reason that we have presentations start on time and end at certain times is so that we can try to ensure that attendees are in the right spots at the right time. So for instance, if we had just the whole platform open and all the different talks going at the same time, there wouldn't be a real good sense of interaction. You wouldn't have, a speaker there ready to answer questions. By turning things on and off and going into certain presentations at certain times, just like you would in an in-person conference, you're able to kind of have that mass of people all together at the same time to ask questions, to have that feedback, and to brainstorm, if you will. So that's why we turn things on and turn things off at certain times. So with that said, while everything will start on time, the start time listed, I do allow a 10-minute buffer after each talk to ensure that if somebody has come in just slightly later and is catching up on the presentation, that they don't get cut off. So this is kind of a convenience thing that we learned last year. If somebody has started a presentation and then needs to pause it for some reason, they're able to step away real quick, come back and finish it up. I didn't want the timing to be so stringent that you wouldn't have time to finish any particular talk. So there is a bit of buffer on the tail end of each talk, but everything will start on time. Another thing to notice or to kind of recognize as a presenter, for the vast majority of our program, we have about 20 sessions that will be live, and they'll be hosted through Zoom, and that's kind of a separate conversation because you'll be live on screen for those Zoom conversations and Q&A. The majority of our program, though, is kind of hosted in this mock live format, where again, we have all your pre-recorded content, we're playing it on a specific schedule. And so with that, the majority of your interaction during the talk will be through the chat. The session chairs, I chatted with them yesterday, and they're reviewing everything and will hopefully have some good questions for you. They will also encourage the audience to ask questions. So the vast majority of your questions during your particular scheduled time for your talk will be through this chat. Again, you can follow up, as I demonstrated earlier, one-on-one, but you can also just type your answers here in the chat as well. The integration of GeoGather now comes during the breaks. So every morning and every afternoon, as well as during lunch, we have scheduled breaks in the schedule. What I would suggest, if you do want to have a breakout for a particular session or have further discussion about a talk, is that you now go over to GeoGather. So you will kind of have two things going at the same time. You'll have the virtual platform, the conference platform of all the technical content, as well as the networking platform, GeoGather. Excuse me, you'll have them up at the same time. And during the breaks, you can log into GeoGather and navigate over to the room that your talk is hosted in. So again, I mentioned this Best of SEG is in room 9. So as we finish up here, I encourage you to kind of wander around this space, but you'll see that there's a room 9 out in the kind of lobby area. So during your breaks, for the Best of SEG session, if you want to have a follow-up conversation there, you can go over to room 9, chat with the presenters, ask questions there, and then when the break is over, you come back over to the conference platform to engage with the next talk after the break. I can fully appreciate that now there's kind of 2 different things going on, the GeoGather side and the conference side. But again, the reason for doing that is last year, the feedback that we had is the virtual experience just didn't replicate an in-person experience, specifically with that networking and the real-time feedback. So the GeoGather side is really that effort to try to encourage that real-time interaction. And again, as I mentioned before, just kind of the randomness of running into people on a convention floor. Yeah, I assume even in this room, there's probably people who haven't seen each other in quite some time. So that's, it should be a neat experience, and I hope everyone does engage here with the GeoGather. Another point to mention, and I'm going to jump back to the poster session, is each poster is assigned a specific spot. So if you are a poster presenter, within GeoGather, it's not open right now, but there's an exhibit floor and there's a posters area. Your poster, your static image poster, will be displayed, this particular one will be displayed on poster number 10. So on the floor, you'll see each poster is labeled, and that's where your poster will be displayed. So as a poster presenter, I would suggest specifically during lunch break, perhaps during the morning and afternoon breaks, and then again, while we're kind of over here networking after the conference has concluded for the day, that you go to your poster and you simply see if anyone's hanging out, and you engage with them. If they're clicked onto your static image, they're looking at it in full view, that would be a perfect time to go and engage with them and to answer any questions they may have. Just like an in-person conference, the only difference being is that there's not necessarily a scheduled time for you to present your poster over on the GeoGather side. But other than that, that interaction piece and having that static image was really done to help replicate an in-person experience. The last thing that I'll touch on here, and I'll send out, I guess a couple things will happen. I'll send out to all attendees a help video, just a quick overview of the system. So we've really today only touched on the lobby, the posters, the sessions, and GeoGather. I'll send out a full kind of help video that will also go into our exhibit hall. We'll also touch on the showcase area, and we'll also touch on the gamification. So the gamification is simply just your ability through the conference to type in certain codes that allows you to gain points. Those points can then be exchanged for prizes. So just another way to try to enhance your experience with us. So that will happen. I will also be opening up system access, both GeoGather and the virtual platform, early next week. So this will kind of be an early access for you to go in, to play around, to click around, to make sure that you are comfortable with how everything flows and where everything is at in the navigation. Because when Monday hits, we don't want you to be surprised by anything. So if we can work that out of our systems here next week, through that early access, that would be ideal. The last thing on this particular screen is kind of your help button, and that's the contact us here in the lower left-hand corner. So when you click on that and have any sort of message, that will come directly to Stephanie or I. So Stephanie and I will be on the back end, kind of navigating things, again, turning those presentations on and off. And if you're running into any sort of issues, that's the way to get a hold of us is through that chat. So hopefully everything does go smoothly and we don't have a lot of issues, but if anything does come up or if you have any questions, that's a perfect way to access Stephanie. So that was certainly a lot to cover, and I think we covered it in about 20 minutes. So that was a lot of information in a very short period of time. What I would like to do now is to open it up for questions. And again, to ask your question, you'll navigate over to the questions here podium. You need to stand on the orange circle, and then you will be broadcasting to the entire audience. So they hear your question. Stephanie and I can do our best to answer it, and then we can go on through there. Again, if you need to walk through somebody, just hold the G key on your keyboard, and you can walk through that person. So it looks like Debbie may have a question for us.
Hi, yeah. How do we share our screen so we can show our reserved PowerPoint slides during Q&A?
Sure. So the way to you won't be able to necessarily do it over in the conference platform because this really is just kind of that more of a static text chat. What I would suggest if you need to share your screen is that you do it here on GeoGather. So again, during a break, you navigate over into the room that your session is being hosted in, and then at the bottom of your screen, you'll see kind of that monitor here in GeoGather, and that's how you can share your screen here on this side. Because yeah, there's not really a way to share your screen with any of the mock live sessions over on the conference platform. Good question. I'm sure there's some other questions out there. Don't be shy. You can wander up to the old podium here.
Dustin?
Yes.
Just while we're waiting, I did have a question in the chat about the monitoring of the chat during the sessions and who's responsible for that, and will presenters might have a lot to work on, and then you can touch on what the role of chairs in that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good question. So you're certainly not having this experience by yourself. You do have session chairs who their main role is to help with the overall experience. So they will moderate questions, they will provide feedback, they will help direct traffic, to make sure that people are navigating into their next talk and that sort of thing. So that is their role within this system is truly to help it be as seamless as possible through the Q&A period as well as the introduction. We want to make sure that everyone has a smooth experience with answering questions. So that's kind of their role in the process. Farouk, you have a question?
Yes, a couple of questions. So first, trying to just understand. So during the conference, we probably need to have two tabs open in the browser, one for feed loop and the second for gather.town, correct? And we can move back and forth, sort of.
That's correct. Yeah. So the way that would be what I would do. The way that GatherTown works is if you are not active within that particular screen, it does shut off your camera and audio. So if you were to navigate away and you're not sharing, what's happening in the background. So it does have kind of that built-in security there where you don't need to necessarily worry about what's on screen unless you are connected to the GeoGather site. Right? But that would be my suggestion for a best practice. You nailed it. It's kind of having both.
Okay. And during the session, when in a particular slot, a speaker's recorded presentation is being broadcasted, once that is done, there is a Q&A portion, right, for 10 minutes or so. So how does that happen? Is that just chat only? Chat, the moderator brings up questions there and the presenter types the answers, or is there audio or video option there to respond as well?
Sure, good question. For the vast majority of the program that is not being hosted live through Zoom, and again, if you are a live presenter, your session chair would have reached out to kind of mention that that's the way that your particular session would be handled. So if you haven't heard that from your session chairs, that means you're mock live. And you're absolutely right, for the feedback and the Q&A will be strictly chat during your particular talk. Again, the beauty of having this GeoGather side, though, is if you do need further follow-up or you want to have further discussion, you can pop over here, navigate to the room that your talk was in, and have that conversation. William, I think you're just on mute there, William.
I guess part of my question was answered. Stephanie is saying GeoGather is the spot for networking. So we are in GeoGather now, she's saying. So when are we in Zoom? Is that when we click on the networking button? Or
Right. So the Zoom will be specific to certain sessions, and you as a presenter do not need to worry yourself with Zoom. Zoom gets piped in directly to the conference platform. You do not need to log into Zoom. You don't need to click any Zoom links. You don't need to worry about that at all. Even if you are in one of those live Zoom sessions, you will still engage with your session through the conference platform, through this that we just described here with my screen share. So yeah, that's a really good point, and maybe confusing. The Zoom, if you do have a live Zoom session, you will still just use the conference platform. Everything happens seamlessly. It's just a plugin that we use, so you don't need to worry yourself with Zoom as a presenter.
but when is the Zoom used then? You're saying it's in a networking situation. Well, to me, we're in Zoom now. To my feeling, it's just I see screens and we talking with each other. That's I guess we can gather screens.
Sure. Yeah. So, and that's maybe the distinction is. I've used the term GeoGather for this particular platform, but you're absolutely right. It does work a lot like Zoom. You see people on screen. You can share your own desktop. So yeah, that's a good point. But no, as far as the how we term different things, this where we're at right now is what I would refer to as GeoGather. And so again, this is not a Zoom platform, but it does present similarly to Zoom, except for now that you have emojis, guys walking around.
So when would you use the Zoom then? I do not understand why you need to talk about Zoom.
So we would use this GeoGather platform for any breakout. So during the morning and afternoon breaks, or during lunch, you can have conversations over here within this same space that we're in right now. The reason that I mentioned Zoom is only because there are a few sessions. There's about 17 of them that are live sessions. So those live sessions will have live Q&A. So that means the speaker will be live on screen, will be live with audio during their talk over on the conference platform side. Again, if your session chair hasn't reached out to mention that you have a live session, then you don't need to worry about Zoom at all.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was a bit confusing last year. So because I didn't, I wasn't the speaker, but I guess I didn't realize it was all recorded. So.
Oh. Well, I guess perhaps that was kind of the intent, to be honest, was to try to give that live conference feel. So I'm glad that was kind of the experience that you had. Now, as a presenter, you're kind of seeing the other side, the back end of it, where it is the vast majority is pre-recorded content.
Yeah, no, and it's more relaxing. I think. I mean, the talk is there already. I can just you sit back and.
That's right. Yeah, as a presenter, you sit back, you can watch your own presentation, and you can monitor that chat over on the right-hand side and answer questions as they come in. It's truly meant to be a good, seamless, and just fun experience for everyone.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, good question. Thanks, William. Anything else in the chat there, Stephanie?
No, I haven't seen anything.
Okay, so again, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat or make your way to one of the orange circles there, or the orange circle, I suppose, in front of that Ask Questions Here podium. Robin.
Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
So I was just wondering. I couldn't find exactly what time my presentation was going to be at. I know that there's like a bunch of sessions and there's an order, but is there a way to find out exactly what time it's supposed to be at?
Sure. So there's two different ways to do that. What I'm going to do, I'll just bring up our event website. We do have a PDF program. The PDF program kind of outlines the entire thing, has links to all the abstracts and that sort of thing. I'm going to pull that up on screen for you now.
Okay.
That's just available on the technical program link of the website. Additionally, if you go to the technical program oral section, you should see the full program there as well. So this here is the program guide that we've put together. I can type your name in here to the search and see what we can find. So it looks like, Robin, you're at 9 o'clock Monday morning in that Canadian oil sands section.
Sounds good. And sorry, this is? You said this is a PDF. I didn't see how you navigated there.
Sure. So it's just on our website. If you go, there's kind of that main bar at the top. If you hit the conference and then technical program, the link or the button to download this PDF will be there.
Sounds good. Okay. And then you're saying, so if there's any questions, we're not actually answering it. We're just answering it like on the chat.
That's correct. Yeah. During your talk, again, I highly suggest that you just use the chat. If there is further discussion needed, then pop over here to GeoConvention side for that in-person conversation.
Okay.
With that said, there is kind of an advanced, you can do video and audio chats over on the conference platform side as well. It might be tough for me to do it. I'm going to try here. But there is, once I engage, so now I've engaged with Adam, I've asked him a question.
Right.
I now have the opportunity to join a video call with Adam. So this now all happens over on the conference platform side. So it's not to say that you have to use the GeoGather side for that interaction. It's just a better tool, I think. There is built-in chats, or there is built-in audio and video conversations over on the conference platform side as well.
Okay. And you're saying that there's about a 10-minute buffer in between the talks?
So what we've built in, we've asked all of our presenters, most of our presenters who are doing standard presentations, to have 20 minutes or around 20-minute presentations.
Right.
I've built in an extra 5 minutes within the schedule, but I will also build in another 10 minutes just in case somebody does step away for kind of an extended period of time. So that means that if somebody's in on a talk and they do need to step away, they can still come back, access the remainder of that talk before it turns off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just for convenience. It's one of those things that we heard last year when things come up and you have to step away, people didn't want to miss part of the content. So that's why we include that additional buffer.
Sounds good. And I think Farouk had asked a question before. It's probably best to have like your GeoGather open up on one screen and maybe the technical, like the GeoConvention site on the other, and then that way you can navigate through the GeoGather in one to. So what's the point of being the GeoGather? You can go into these other rooms and stuff, like that's where you can go to see the poster sessions and stuff of it. You can do that on the other, your normal website too, right?
Yeah, so the main purpose and the whole reason that we have the GeoGather side is really for that networking piece. So that part, the randomness of running into people, as I mentioned before, is really tough to achieve over on the conference side. So by having, this ability with GeoGather to have breakout rooms into, the exhibit floors there's a games area where you can play Tetris and poker with your friends. It's really just to try to connect people a little bit better than what the conference platform is able to achieve.
Okay.
The other benefit here with GeoGather is that it will host the static images of the posters. So on the conference platform side, it'll be their 5-minute quick presentation where they're likely stepping through a few slides. On the GeoGather side, you'll be able to actually see that full poster content, just like you would for an in-person.
Okay. Cool.
Dustin?
So yeah, you're quite right. The main purpose, and I should have highlighted that better probably in the beginning, is truly for that networking and interaction piece over here on the GeoGather side.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome, thanks, Robin.
Yeah, thanks.
Dustin? I was just going to add to that. Sorry, I think for me, what I've seen is that Feedloop is great for a one-on-one conversation with someone. As Dustin showed, you can open a chat with somebody very easily and have a one-to-one conversation. It's not great for group conversations. GeoGather lets you have sort of those larger Q&As.
Okay. Sounds good. And that was, sorry, that chat you're talking about, that's on the website or on the GeoConvention site or on the GeoGather?
So the chat is over on the conference platform side.
Okay.
Yeah, that we're talking about.
Okay. Got it.
And again, I'll send out some help videos where I'll actually navigate through and have chats with people just so you can kind of see how all that works. And like I said, by opening the systems up early, you can trial that yourself as well. And that's the main reason for opening it early, is so you can try everything out to make sure that come Monday you hit the ground running.
So the GeoGather site's open now and it's going to stay open?
The GeoGather site, yeah, there'll be brief times where you'll lose access because I'll have to upload our full attendee list. Right now, I only have presenters able to access the area. So I need to upload our full attendee list. So there may be a few times where you either get kicked out if you're in here between now and Monday next week. But for the most part, it will remain open, yes.
All right, sounds good.
Dustin, we have a few questions in the chat that I thought would be good to discuss with everybody. Sort of tied into it, Farouk asked, the session chairs are supposed to play the scheduled presentation video, and does the speaker only need to monitor the chat during or after that video playback?
So the presentations will become live automatically. The session chairs don't have any involvement when things start and stop. That's something that I do on the back end. So they don't have any involvement there. As for monitoring what sort of questions that may pop up, you're completely right. You kind of just stay there for the duration of your talk, plus that 5 minutes or so buffer at the end of it, and see what populates there. I will send out some guidance once we move to on-demand. So the on-demand period is kind of when everything's open and everyone can go back in and watch what they missed during the live conference. I'll send out some guidance for our presenters to log back in, once a week or, once every other week to see if any other questions have been asked over there in the chat. But during the conference itself, you're absolutely right. You kind of watch and see what's happening during your talk, and then you can feel comfortable to navigate.
Dustin, this is Mark. Do you hear me? Dustin, do you hear me? Can I ask a question?
Dustin, sorry. Mark is trying to ask a question. I think, Mark, I'm hearing you because you're near me. If you can go over to the Ask a Question podium where I see there's a few people, you just have to wait for somebody to step off that square, or you can come up on stage. I'll move off the podium that I'm on, and you can ask your question.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, Mark, how are you?
Oh, thank you. Awesome presentation. I just want to answer questions that the convention platform and the GeoGather platform, they are two different platforms, right?
Correct.
And how do I activate the GeoGather platform? And I don't have to have the GeoGather platform in order to go to the lecture, right? Two questions.
Correct. Yep, that's absolutely right. They are two completely different systems. What you'll find in the lobby area is I'll post the link to GeoGather. You already have it. This is going to be the site that we use for the live conference. So you're already kind of in. But you don't need to use GeoGather. You don't need to really engage over on this side. If you want to just go and sit back and watch some presentations, and you don't necessarily want to, have engage with some of those breakout sessions or anything, absolutely, you can just hang over on the conference platform side. That's not a problem. That's what we did last year, right? We didn't have GeoGather last year, and the full conference ran just with the conference platform. Again, the main point of the GeoGather side is just for that, group interaction and that randomness of running into past colleagues. So I hope that helps answer your question there. Azra, I see that you've stepped onto the spotlight. I think you might be muted if you're talking.
Yeah, I couldn't find myself.
There we go.
Yeah, I was lost in the others. Yeah, so I was wondering why, if we have used GeoGather and all that exhibition and everything is here, and why we couldn't have just GeoGather only for all the talks and rooms and everything, so that it would look like just the conference. Like, now I understand that you had the other one already on contract, and then GeoGather, they offered those. So I understand the platforms, but right now I think most of the people, what I see, it's going to be the same mess which we had before. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, and that's something that we gave lots of thought to. The problem with GeoGather is that it's not robust enough to host 400 presentations in a certain order. So, to plug things into GeoGather is all through YouTube links. So it's you couldn't schedule things. There's no scheduling ability over here on the GeoGather side either. So it just wasn't feasible with this particular platform to host a full conference in it. I would suggest, for this, it works well. For maybe one-off presentations, it works well. But for a full 3-day conference with 400 presentations, it didn't have that capability.
Did you talk to GeoGather guys? Like, will they be able to link it to something? Like, I know, we do a lot of development, so it can develop in 6 months. And
absolutely, yeah. The beauty of this particular system is that it is evolving quickly. It is getting kind of a lot of steam behind it. Mm-hmm. So while they wouldn't be ready for our conference here in a week and a half. It's something,
no, that's fine. I just was, it was my understanding. But it's okay.
No, it's something we gave a lot of thought to.
No, because for the exhibitors, like, it is like a one room, like from this side, or you meet, the whole idea is to just chat with people and, as many people as we can, like, especially as an exhibitor.
Yeah.
Which are not that many as the last time, but it would be nice to just. This looks like good. Like, you can talk and people could listen to you, and there is a showcase presentations here as well. Like, so if somebody just stays in the other room and never come to GeoGather, like as you were suggesting to the last answer, that you can stay on the other side, then I would encourage people to use it more often, or at least before and after the conference. Like, if that would be probably, we can be available anytime. Service provider. So.
Yeah. No, and you're right. So I kind of mentioned the morning break, the lunch break, and the afternoon break. But then following the conference, most talks are wrapping up around 4:30 or so. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, I would encourage all of our attendees, and I'll include this kind of in our introduction video, to head over here. Have your end of day beer with some friends here on GeoGather and wander around and see what you run into. So
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
no, I agree. I hope people do use the platform. Absolutely.
Dustin, I have a question about how do we know if our session is live or not?
So I guess there's 2 ways, one of which in the online program, so the digital version of the program, if your session is live, you'll see this red live sticker associated with it. So I'm on the conference platform here now, obviously, but this sticker does appear on our website as well under the technical program. So that's one way. The other way is that your session chair should have reached out to say that your particular session is live. As we kind of go on here, I'm going to pull up an Excel sheet that has the list of live sessions just so you can get a quick look at that. Olga, how are you? Oh, looks like Olga's mic maybe wasn't working. Any other questions? Howard, I think I saw you. Oh, there we go. Olga's back. There we go. We can hear you now, Olga.
Yes, I had to refresh for some reason. Hi, thank you for this. I have a couple of questions. One, I don't have access to this view. I only have some registration information. So I'm going to follow up with someone, or is it not yet open for us to access this, what you're showing?
Yeah, it's not open just yet. We will send out a link likely Tuesday next week to invite you to log in at that point in time. So yeah, we're just I'm going through the process now of still reviewing all the presentations that have been submitted, making sure they're in the right spots, and making sure that they all play properly. And then yeah, Tuesday next week, all attendees will get an email inviting them to join us.
The second question is about the posters. I have two different presentations and two different dates. So would I stay by the poster on that day specifically? What's the idea here?
Yeah, no, the posters will be available all conference long. And that's a really good point because in the past we have had posters up for just one day. So the posters will be there all conference long. So if you're walking around the conference platform with two posters and two oral presentations, you'll be busy, but you'll be just kind of clicking, around and checking in on your poster, randomly throughout the conference to see if there are any questions being posed.
So I'm curious, is it possible to have two windows with two accesses simultaneously open, one for each session, or is that not allowed in that system?
I wouldn't. I think it's possible. I wouldn't maybe suggest it only because I don't know about kind of the stability. Like if you have a lot of things going on at the same time, it may not work out, especially if you have GeoGather going as well. So I would suggest just the one, I think. But with that said, a suggestion that was made last year was in the chat for your poster when early access opens. You can type into that chat when you'll be available. So I'll be at this poster from 10 to 11 on Tuesday. And so then everyone knows that that's when you'll be there. And so then perhaps that's when they'll be there.
And what is the time zone that we're communicating in?
So when you look on our website and in the published program guide, it's all Mountain Daylight Time.
Okay.
When you hit over here, when you log into the conference, you'll see that everything is time shifted, so it will reflect the time zone that you're in. So right now, I'm in Mountain time zone, so it's showing 8:35 start. If I logged in from Vancouver, for instance, I suppose this would show a 7:35 start.
So if I indicate what time I might be by the poster, I need to be specific about the time zone, right?
Good call, yeah.
It would be adjusting to.
That's right.
Okay, and I just heard it, but I want to confirm that there's no live communication after the presentation. It's only through chat during the presentation itself, right?
Yes, unless you have one of those live sessions, or if you're part of one of those, which I'll put up on the screen right now.
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, again, your session chair should have reached out, indicating that if that was the case, but I'm going to go ahead and put up that list on screen, just so everyone has it. So, there we go. So these are the list of sessions. There may be one or two more added. A couple other chairs were interested in perhaps doing it, but this is our list so far of sessions that will be posted. Excellent. Thanks, Olga. Any other questions?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, no worries.
Dustin, I have what I think is a great question about GeoGather. And how do you do one-to-one video chats within GeoGather?
That is good. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. So the way that GeoGather works is kind of proximity based. You may have noticed as you walked around the space, as you get closer to somebody, their video becomes brighter, their volume becomes louder. As you walk away from somebody, it kind of fades away. There are also private spaces within GeoGather. So I've set up some tables, tables that only have 2 spots associated with them. If you're in that private space, then only the 2 of you that are in that space will be able to talk. Anyone passing by, no matter how close they get, they will not be a part of your conversation. You'll notice that it's a private space by when you go into it's shaded a bit differently. You go in, at the bottom of your screen, you'll say you have now entered a private space, and then you'll know that you're kind of in that private space. So the breakout rooms, for instance, each room is its own private space. So anyone in that room will be able to have a conversation, and it's not being communicated outside of that room. Similarly, like I said, I have tables set up where the tables are private conversations. So if you do want to have a one-on-one conversation, that's the way to do it. Posters also have private areas. So right in front of the poster, you'll see it's kind of shaded differently. If you're in that shaded area, you're a part of that private poster area. And booths, the exhibitor booths are also private areas. So if you step into a booth, you're having a conversation with just whoever else is in the booth, not necessarily anybody who's walking by. So I hope that helps answer that question. And again, I totally encourage you after this to walk around and to find, there's some tables set up there in the lobby, there's the rooms set up, there's whiteboards set up, so I encourage you to walk around and kind of see what that private space looks like and how that works. Excellent. Anthony, I don't know if you have a question. I'm going to step away from my podium so that you can come up on my podium to ask a question. Alex, I see you've stepped up to the podium now.
I have a few questions, mostly about interface. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, while listening this, I was able to figure out answers on some of my questions. So, just to confirm, to go over it, first I was unable to switch from your presentation. Then I figured out that I should just press escape, right? This is the only way.
Right, yeah, you can, if the screen share is too big or whatever, you can click it and it will make it smaller, yeah.
Click, okay, just click on screen share. Okay, great. And yes, and I can also scroll through the top small screens to enlarge any of them and to see them, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. And one of those things that you figure out by just kind of playing around with the system, you can scroll through all the different people that are attending. You can click on their particular box and they'll pop up for you.
And another question, maybe it's unanswering. I can still see a blue caption. It says, really try walking around to find objects that glow. Press X on your keyboard to interact with the object. And it covers all other content. Can I turn it down?
You should be. I don't know why that would show. If you click on it, does anything happen?
I click, but it doesn't react. Okay, maybe it's a part of demonstration, advertisement.
It may be. So So I think everyone had to go through a quick kind of demo when you first logged in. It may still be part of that particular demo.
Okay, then thanks.
Of course, yeah, thanks, Alex. All right. Well, is there any other questions there, Stephanie, in the chat?
No, I don't see any. I think we've addressed everything. If I missed anything, someone could put a quick note in the chat, or just know that you can send us an email about it as well.
So what I will do, we'll go ahead and call this a wrap. I appreciate everyone's time and kind of exploring this with us and taking the time to navigate this space. And yeah, it's a steep learning curve, but I think once you get it, it should be a pretty positive experience. So I do appreciate everyone for attending this, and again for all the work that you've put in your abstracts and your presentations. GeoConvention truly doesn't exist without very excellent quality content, and so thank you sincerely for the work that you've put in preparing that. I will stay around in this area for however long I need to. I don't have anywhere else to be here today, so if you do have any other questions, feel free to come up and ask them. Other than that, we'll go ahead and call it a wrap. Again, feel free to search around, play around, and to see what GeoGather has to offer. Yeah, so thank you.